I just want to take you through the process of making the base of the ring and what I do. These have already been created. Basically, I take a strip of clay and wrap it around these ring size molds here. They have the different sizes on them here. I actually had to purchase this. There's all different sizes. These are all whole sizes. But it gave me the base of the ring. So what I would do is, let me just quickly show you. So these are usually used, something like this is used for people that like to work with jewelry and do engravings into jewelry. So this is a bracelet size, but I like this as a ring size. And it's worked out nicely to make the strips for the rings. So rather than measure, I just sort of use this as my template. And it works out nicely. It's exactly the size that I want for the ring. So what I do then is I make several mold sizes of the various different sizes, just simply by wrapping it around. Actually, this is a size 7 here, so I just wrap it around. Now this serves as like the core base of the ring, because then I wrap wire around it afterwards. And then I have a little bit of the Sculpey liquid adhesive clay here, and I usually put that on the ends just to make sure it stays together. Now it is a little bit tight when these are done and after they cook. It does take some gentle twisting to get them off the bars. And so then I sort of just, after I apply the glue there, I just make sure I go over it again and seal the edges up. And I love this. This is Kato polymer clay. It's a little bit more expensive. It's $5 for a pack of 3. It's not really a lot of clay, but it's one of those game changers. It's just great clay. It molds really well. It's not as soft as a polymer souffle, but it holds nicely, especially if you're going to do a lot of canes, which I can talk about another time. But so that's what I do to create the core of the ring base here. So this has been cooked. I usually do it about 12 minutes. And I have my pasta maker on 6, so that's the thickness that I use. And again, this is just the core to give me the accurate ring size here. And so I stick these in the oven. There's a little template, a little base that these stick onto, so they'll stand up in the oven. And this has already been cooked. This is a size 9, and I want to show you it really. You got to sort of twist it, but do it gently because it can break. This clay, another thing about Kato clay is that it's pretty strong. Yeah, it's pretty strong. Yeah. So there's the base of my ring. That's a good solid 9, and so I know that it's pretty accurate. So what I like to do, and I've tried a couple of different things because these are rings, and I've had my daughter wear several different types of rings and see how long they lasted before they broke. So yeah, polymer clay rings can break. These are pretty durable. This is a great clay. Like I said, it's the Kato clay. It's more expensive, and it cooks really well and holds really well. But here's my secret. So I originally tried some molds, some ring molds, and try to wrap the clay around that. I did try this process. It was just really, it's an arduous process wrapping the clay around this, and then if you did a bigger size, like a 10 or a 9, you could see that you'd have a gap there. And I was too afraid that it may have cracked in that little gap hole there, even though I would put extra clay, because I thought to myself I could actually reverse it and have the large portion of this ring here and the opening, but I just wasn't comfortable. It took too long to manipulate. I did try this as well with one of the template rings and then put this on it. But then again, I still have the issue of the opening there, and I didn't want to take any chances. So what I bought was this wire. It's a thin wire. I don't have that. Do I have the size? Let's see. I think I do. Hold on. Oh, it's florist wire. It's if I'm reading this right, it's 30 gauge. It's really, really thin. Florist wire, 30 gauge. Yeah. So it's pretty thin. It's almost like thread thin. I don't even know if you can see it or not. But I just want to show you what I do here to firm up the ring, and so that it won't break. I even bought several of these, and I use the tool that creates the rings, the molding of the ring, and then I'd add clay around that, and that was just too much of a process. So this seems to be holding up pretty well. Just dropped my wire. Okay. All right, here we go. So, I cut a piece of wire long enough to wrap around a couple of times, 3 or 4 times, and then again I'm going to use, I can tell you the size of this as well. So this is impression art, and this is, I think this is, I want to say 3/8. Yeah, this is 3/8 for an aluminum bracelet. But now it's serving as my ruler, just to get the thickness, because it's perfect for the thickness. I could also use, this one is a 1/4, which is nice as well, because when it's thicker, and I'm going to show you in a minute, this one is thicker. This is a 1/4. I can just wrap it around the ring. So let me just quickly show you how this works. So I'm going to cut a strip here. And again, I made this clay color using the color wheel. I mixed yellow and black to get this green. I wanted this color green. It reminds me of a garden green. Yeah, so here's my strip here. And so I take one of the base rings that, again, it's already cooked. It's still delicate. It holds up, but it's still somewhat delicate. I would never sell a ring without having any type of reinforcement. I wouldn't sell a ring just like this. I mean, it could hold up, probably not for very long. But so then now I just wrap the wire around the base. And I go over it a couple of times, and that's okay. That it's more than 2 or 3 times. So as you can see, we have the base on there. And so then again, I seal it with this. I just go right over the wire, and probably a couple of times. I wouldn't worry about it being too thick on the base. These are chunky rings, so that's okay. So I wrap it around twice. I don't want to go 3 times here. Well, I will when I do the bump in the ring. So look at, so this has the wire wrapped around, this has the clay wrapped around the wire. And so this is the part where I start molding it and smoothing it out. And it's a process, so this part does take a while. I don't want to rush too much. I could always go back over it again, but I just want to try to go over this quickly. And again, I'm pretty much a perfectionist, so this takes me more than I would like it to take me, but I want to make sure they look really good. So again, I just keep pressing and turning it around. It takes some practice. Don't worry. can't get it the first time. And so remember that strip was a 1/4, so the strip was larger than this. So if you notice, this is the base of the ring. I think it was 3/4. No, I'm sorry. 3/8. 3/8, and then this was the 1/4. So you have that extra clay that goes over the ring that you sort of just fold over the sides like this. And yeah, this clay, I'll tell you, it's a nice clay. It's firm, but it still is easy to manipulate, and it just works really well. It really is a strong clay. Like I said, you are paying a little bit more for it, but they're rings. These aren't earrings, they're rings. So you want it to be a little bit stronger with the ring. Oh, it was 3/8. The smaller one was 3/8. So yeah. So I smooth it around the edges here. And again, it does take a while. You got to be careful. Make sure you look at the middle there that it doesn't crack, because sometimes it can crack because you're using the pressure of your hands to smooth out the top of it and press the wire into the clay. Sometimes it's there can be too much pressure and the ring can crack. And if the ring cracks, you have two options: start all over, or you can use, what I do is this liquid polymer clay. It looks like the adhesive. It's a liquid, and I mix it with the clay and almost make like a paint like mixture. It's very smooth and liquidy, and I just kind of fill in the crack with it. Or I do the adhesive as well. Either or, because when you bake it, it all comes together. So I just want to quickly show you, and again, I still work on this a lot more than what I'm doing right now, but I think this can kind of give you a pretty good idea of where the base is coming from. So here we go. Look, I can see that little bump right there, and see that little bump, actually, that little bump is a piece of the wire. You got to be really careful about that. You don't ever want the wire to be poking out for obvious reasons. I mean, cosmetic reasons, and you don't want a ring to have wire popping out looking uncomfortable. All right, so again, I'm using this is the larger metal ball just to kind of smooth it in there. And I want to tell you something about whatever clay you're going to add on top of it. You be very careful to what you add in here. You can see the excess, because you know what happens, obviously, if you're adding clay here, you're going to change the size. So you got to be really careful about that. And because the original template of this is cooked, it just scrapes off nicely. And that's the beauty of cooking the first ring band. It's cooked, and the softer clay just scrapes right off. So you want to make sure to cover, and it's no wires hanging out. So wrap the wire around the middle section right here. Make sure that you're wrapping it within. You don't want it too close on the edges, because if it's too close on the edges, it's going to come off. Okay, so again, this still has a lot of work to do. I see a lot of little flaws. And so if you notice this here, a little bit higher, and that's where I put the flowers. I'll show you some of these in a minute. So this is what the finished ring looks like. See? It's pretty. That's the finished. This one hasn't been cooked. I'll show you this. Those are the flowers that I put on. I'm going to show you that in a minute. So I want to be able to make this a little bit of a rise in the ring, because that's where the flowers are going to sit. And that way you have this standing out when the ring is on. The flowers are standing out. It looks pretty. Really draws attention to the ring. The flowers on the ring. So to make that, and again, the larger the ring, you don't have to worry if it seems like the bump lift on it is too high, you don't have to worry about that on the larger rings, because usually somebody has a larger hand, and they can carry it. They carry it well, actually. Actually, the bigger the hand, these rings look fabulous on. I mean, obviously, I have size 6s here. If you have small, dainty fingers, it really makes a statement. It's super cool. So what I did was I just rolled a little piece of clay like this, and so I just lie it on top here. I'm going to make sure that's not, that's going to give me my little bit of a hump there, see? And so I'm going to quickly smooth down those edges. And I know this is taking a lot longer than I had wanted, but I think it's good just to quickly show you. And so then I have another strip here. And so what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to put it through the pasta makeup. But this time it's going to go on 2 or 3. I'm going to make it much thinner. And just go right over probably about 1/4 of an inch away from the hump. Sort of like, it's almost like I'm taping it back up. And it's okay to tear it, but as a tear you can just blend it right back in, where the sharp edge is a little bit harder. So this is where it starts to take a lot of manipulating with your hands and forming the ring. So yeah, just kind of start forming it with my hands here. So I think what makes this so nice, so unique, is that the ring is really the exact same. I think that's the beauty of handmade items. You know, it's an original. It's always an original if it's handmade. And it's funny, I think, yeah, it does become a labor of love. You know, you look at the rings and you think, oh, I remember when I made those rings. What was going on in my life then? What was I thinking about when I made these rings? So on and so forth. And I think, like most of us, anything that has to do with art or crafts or creativity, it's a great relaxation activity to engage in. It's really, really nice, especially if you like the way it comes out. You feel a great sense of accomplishment. So this is going to take a while. I just want to quickly show you how it's coming along, and then I'm going to move to a ring that's already done. But as you can see, it still has a lot of work to do, though. I'm not quite finished with this. Oops. See? But it's getting there. It has to be smoothed out on the edges. And so this is I'm just going to set this aside, and I'm going to go to this ring, because this one's done. I worked on this for a while. Perfection. Perfecto, for me, anyways. So I have my 4 different shades here of pink. Let me get the actual color of this. Wait a minute. Oh, fuchsia. Probably should have known that. So what I did to get the 3 different levels of fuchsia, obviously I added different amounts of white to get my 3 different shades, 4 different shades here. Yeah. So once again, I'm going to put these into my pasta maker. Make sure it's still soft. These have been sitting here. I mean, it's nice when it's hard, because then you can use the molds a little bit better. So you can bring that through more than once if you want. It's a tiny little piece, which is fine. And so this mold here I bought from the sea salt company. Cute little mold. Great molds. Really nice molds. It's a game changer. I mean, I used to sit and try to cut these leaves, petals by hand. It very, 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 very time consuming. I do feel a little bit guilty using a cutter. I feel like I'm cheating a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. But I also like the way it looks, and I like the speed of it. I can produce more to share the happiness of these rings, and I do think they're very happy. So here I cut the 2 rings, and you notice I did like a little wiggle onto the piece of clay, because these aren't super sharp, and these are really tiny, tiny. I want to use a better. What I do with my this is a little bit sharper. So this is how you carefully sort of slide it off with the sharp end. And so sometimes, because it's such a little cutter, you know, there's little scraps on the sides of it, and you know that that's going to bother me. So I use my little tool here to try to flatten each side petal so there's no excess hanging from the petals, because that would really bother me. So, and I try to center it as best as possible. It's okay if it's not exact. Do the best you can. Again, when it's handmade, it doesn't have to be perfection. That's what makes it so nice. Yeah. So we got our first little flower on there. Then I'm going to show you how to put the center on in a minute. So then I'm going to take, I think I'm going to use the lighter one here. Bring this through. This one is a softer clay, so this one gets a little difficult to move around with the mold. Remember, wiggle the mold a little bit and then lift, wiggle the mold and then lift. And so that way the clay won't stick inside the mold. You know, pat it down on your glass or your marble, and then once again you have to really carefully lift it off. Then again, I'm going to clean up any sides. I don't know if you can see this. I think there might be a little bit of a extra hanging off the edges. Yeah, these are little guys, so it's hard to cut it exactly right, but I'll tell you, it's a fantastic little cutter. I think I saved hours upon hours of time being able to use these molds versus doing it by hand, which is what I used to do before. And so I like to place the second little flower, one petal to go in between the other. So it looks like it's there we go. And I'm going to do one more. And I'm going to show you the middle. And I'll do this with the other colors as well. And again, I just want to clean it up a little bit. I hate that excess hanging out on the edges. It doesn't look like a really neat ring. Neat as far as I should say clean. And so this, ready? This we're going to put here on the other side of the flower. You see? And so I need to move the petals around. Oh, no, that was a little bit of an exaggerated. Gotta close that petal up. That was a little much. You want it too open there. You want it to look like they're all sort of mushed together. Or they're growing together. They're intertwined. Yeah, I hope it's okay. It's not perfect, but so yeah. Alright, let me show you about the center. So I have these little circle cutters, and I absolutely love them. Again, I used to do all of this by hand. Game changer. I mean, I still think it has that handmade look to it. Which is nice. But again, I can make a lot more of them, and it's my colors and my positioning, and my design, and I don't have to feel like I'm cheating. Sort of like being all Italian, I would never go out and buy Italian food or a jarred sauce, because, you know, we were brought up to make it ourselves, and God forbid if we ever bought a jarred tomato sauce. Okay, so here we have our little centers, and then I'm going to use my smaller round tool here, and just, I'm going to pat around the center of it. Helps it to not look so cookie cutter either. So, yeah. So I'm going to add more flowers on this. I think I need glasses. Now I'm kind of struggling to see this. Alright? Yeah. There we go. So, there we go. I have not finished. This is, where is it? What it will look like. So I have to still add flower here, and then I like to do one on the sides here to finish it off. So this is what it looks like. But I did a little, my pattern's a little different. So these are called Mom's Garden, Mom's Pink Garden. I'm going to do these in lilac, purple and a lilac. So I hope you liked the tutorial. Thanks for watching. I can't wait to start selling these as soon as school's done with, in June. Yeah, hopefully I'll get it set up and we can start a little shop. Alright, thank you. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye.